The wind was sharper than usual that December evening, the kind that sliced straight through layers of fabric and settled in the bones. Ethan pulled his thin jacket tighter as he hurried across the dimly lit street toward the old bus stop, a place he visited every night after finishing his late shift at the grocery store. Life hadn't been kind to him lately, but he'd learned to move quietly through it, never expecting miracles, only hoping it wouldn't get worse. His breath came out in white clouds as he reached the stop. A flickering street lamp hummed overhead, casting an unsteady pool of yellow light. He dropped onto the cold metal bench with a sigh. He was exhausted, hungry, and honestly just tired of being tired. But life had taught him patience, the kind that's built from long nights and empty pockets. As he rubbed his hands together for warmth, he suddenly noticed movement at the far end of the bus stop. A woman stood there, almost curled into herself, hugging her arms tightly around her body. Her dark hair blew wildly in the wind, and though her back was turned, Ethan could see the stiffness in her shoulders and the unmistakable shiver of someone freezing. He blinked. At first he thought she might be waiting for someone, but the way her feet shifted restlessly, the way she tried to shelter herself from the cold of broken bar, it was clear she wasn't just waiting. She was struggling. Ethan hesitated. He didn't know her. She wasn't dressed like someone who belonged at this rundown bus stop on the city's quieter side. Her boots were expensive, the kind he'd seen through store windows but never touched. Her coat, though stylish, was far too light for the night's freezing wind. Maybe she had rushed out of somewhere. Maybe she had lost something, or maybe she just took a wrong turn. The wind howled again, sending a chill down his back. He watched her for another silent moment. Her fingers trembled as she tried to slide them into her sleeves, as if that tiny bit of warmth might make a difference. Ethan looked down at his own jacket. It wasn't much, a faded navy, a little frayed at the edges, zipper half broken, but it was warm, warmer than whatever she had on. He swallowed, torn between his own discomfort and the sight of someone clearly worse off. Then he stood. He didn't overthink it, didn't weigh what he had versus what he didn't. He simply walked toward her, his steps soft on the pavement, as if afraid to startle her. "Excuse me?" he said gently. She turned quickly, startled. Her eyes, big, sharp, and unexpectedly tired, met his. For a half second, she seemed defensive, as if preparing herself for the kind of trouble women often have to anticipate from strangers approaching in the dark. Ethan raised his hand slightly, showing he meant no harm. "Yeah, I just noticed you're freezing," he said, voice calm. "You can take my jacket. It's not much, but it's warm." The woman blinked, confused. "What? No, a broken bar? No, I'm fine." Her voice was polished, soft, elegant, a voice with confidence. It didn't belong in a cold bus stop at night. "You're shaking," Ethan said. "Please, I insist." She opened her mouth, perhaps to argue again, but her body betrayed her with another violent shiver. Ethan, without waiting, shrugged off his jacket and draped it over her shoulders. The moment the warmth settled around her, she inhaled sharply, like someone who had been holding their breath for too long. "You don't have to do this," she whispered. "I know," Ethan replied softly, "but I want to." She stared at him, almost bewildered. In the yellow glow of the flickering street lamp, her face looked beautifully composed but tense, as if carrying the weight of 1,000 unspoken thoughts. For a long moment, neither spoke. He stepped back toward his bench, now wearing only a thin shirt, but he didn't complain. The cold bit instantly into his skin, but he forced himself not to shiver. He didn't want to make her feel guilty. The woman looked at him as if trying to understand something deeper, something about him that didn't match this worn-out bus stop, or his worn-out clothes, or the tired slump of his shoulders. Finally, she walked over slowly, still wrapped in his jacket. "Why did you do that?" she asked quietly. Ethan shrugged. "You looked cold." That's it." She studied him carefully, almost suspiciously, as if she wasn't used to kindness without hidden motives. Her eyes softened a little. "Most people wouldn't do that," she murmured. Ethan gave a small, tired smile. "Most people should." The bus stop fell quiet again, except for the distant hum of city traffic and the harsh whistle of wind weaving through the metal shelter. After a moment, she spoke again. "I'm Clara." He nodded politely. "Ethan, that jacket, a broken bar, you'll freeze without it," Clara said, guilt creeping into her tone. "I'll survive." Ethan chuckled lightly. "I've had worse nights." She looked at him with a mix of concern and curiosity. "Are you always these a broken bar selfless?" "No," he said honestly, "just human." His honesty disarmed her. Minutes passed. The cold pressed harder. Clara shifted uneasily, glancing at him, then down at the jacket around her, then back at him conflicted. "You said you had worse nights," she finally said. "Are things a broken bar hard for you?" Ethan shook his head lightly. "It's nothing. Life's just been a broken bar, a little rough lately." The truth was bigger than his words. The late night shift, the bills that kept piling up, the rent he wasn't sure he could pay next month, the dreams he put aside because reality demanded survival instead. But he didn't spill all that. It wasn't her burden. Clara watched him closely, noticing every small detail of the thin shirt now clinging to his shivering frame, the tired circles under his eyes, the way his hands subtly curled to preserve warmth. She opened her mouth as if to say something, but the sudden screech of bus brakes interrupted them. Headlights flared across the pavement. Their bus had arrived. People shuffled toward the doors, but Clara didn't move. Instead, she looked at Ethan again, her gaze intense, thoughtful, almost searching. "You should take your jacket," she said softly. "You need it more than I do." Ethan smiled and shook his head. "Keep it for now. I'll be okay." The doors opened. Passengers boarded. The driver glanced impatiently their way. Clara hesitated, caught between getting on and staying. Then, unexpectedly, she stepped closer to Ethan. "You don't know this," she whispered, "but your kindness a broken bar. It means more than you think." Ethan blinked, confused. "It's just a jacket." "No," she said slowly, gripping the fabric around her shoulders. "It's not." Before he could ask what she meant, she turned and boarded the bus. Ethan watched her through the window as she took a seat, but she didn't look away. She kept her eyes on him until the bus rolled away into the night. Ethan stood alone under the flickering street lamp, arms cold, heart strangely warm, unaware that the woman he'd just helped wasn't just anyone. She was a CEO, and the jacket he'd given her was about to change his entire life. Ethan woke the next morning feeling the consequences of his late-night generosity. His throat burned, and every breath carried a faint sting. He coughed weakly as he sat up in his small studio apartment, the kind of place where the kitchen, bedroom, and living room all existed in one tired line. The heater had stopped working weeks ago, so the air felt as cold as the streets he walked every night. Still, despite the chill in his bones, the memory of the woman at the bus stop Clara stayed warm in his mind. Her eyes, the way she'd looked at him with a mixture of surprise and something deeper, something he couldn't quite name. He wondered briefly if she had made it home safely. Then reality returned, sorting itself like a stack of overdue bills. He didn't expect to see her again. By noon, he was back at work in the grocery store, stocking shelves while the radio hummed in the background. The manager barked instructions at him, customers squeezed past without so much as a glance, and Ethan moved quietly through the aisles like he always did, and unnoticed, unimportant, replaceable. Around 3 p.m., as he was stacking cans of soup, the store's entrance chimed. He glanced up, more out of habit than interest, but then he froze. She was there. Clara, not wrapped in his jacket anymore. She wore a long, elegant coat, deep charcoal in color, with buttons that looked like polished obsidian. Her hair was neatly tied back, her boots sleek and pristine. She looked as though she had stepped out of a world far removed from this cramped grocery store, and everyone noticed her. Cashiers straightened. Customers glanced. It wasn't just her beauty, it was her presence, the quiet authority she carried without even trying. But Clara didn't seem interested in any of them. Her eyes scanned the store until they landed on Ethan. Her expression softened immediately. She walked toward him, each step precise and confident, heels clicking lightly on the floor. Ethan nearly dropped the can he was holding. "Clara?" she smiled. "You remembered my name." "How a broken bar? How did you find me?" "I asked the bus driver," she said simply. "He remembered you." Ethan rubbed the back of his neck, embarrassed. "I hope you didn't go through trouble." "It wasn't trouble," she replied gently. "I needed to see you." Ethan's eyes widened slightly. "Is everything okay? Did something happen?" "Yes," she said, her voice lowering. "And number. I just wanted to return this." She reached into the shopping bag she was carrying and pulled out his jacket, a freshly washed, neatly folded, and, to his surprise, repaired. The zipper worked. The torn seam near the left cuff was stitched perfectly. It looked almost new. Ethan blinked. "You fixed it?" "I had it professionally cleaned and mended," she said. "It was the least I could do." He took it from her, fingers brushing the soft fabric. "You didn't have to do that, and you didn't have to freeze for a stranger," she replied. Ethan flushed slightly, unsure what to say. Before he could think of anything, she spoke again. "May I buy you coffee?" Her tone was gentle but firm, almost hopeful. Ethan's stomach tightened. He had never been invited for coffee by someone like her, someone polished, elegant, someone who looked like she walked in boardrooms, not bus stops. "Yeah, I'm working," he said awkwardly. Clara glanced around the store. "When do you finish?" Ethan hesitated. 8. "I'll wait." "Wait?" he repeated, startled. 4 hours. "I don't mind," she said simply. But Ethan did. He stepped closer, lowering his voice. "Clara, I appreciate a broken bar, really a broken bar, but you don't need to do that." The jacket was just a small gesture. Clara held his gaze, and her eyes softened again the way they had the night before. "It wasn't small to me," she said quietly. Before he could respond, the store manager suddenly appeared behind him. "Ethan," he snapped, "less chatting, more stocking." Ethan stiffened. "Sorry, sir." Clara turned to the manager with calm authority. "Is there a problem?" "No," the manager said quickly, unnerved by her tone. "No problem." She gave him a polite smile that somehow carried enough pressure to make him back away like a scolded child. When he was gone, Ethan exhaled. "Thank you." She shook her head. "You shouldn't be spoken to like that." "It's fine," he said. "It's just a job." "A job should still respect you," she murmured. Ethan shrugged. Respect was a luxury he wasn't used to. Clara glanced around, then back at him. "All right, I won't keep you, but I'll be outside at 8. "Clara, it's not negotiable," she said with a charming, almost playful confidence. "See you then," and she left. For the next 4 hours, Ethan felt every second stretch. His co-workers whispered, speculated, and stared, but he was too lost in his own confusion to care. Why was she here? What was she doing? Why him? By the time 8 o'clock arrived, he was nervous to the point of discomfort. He stepped outside, jacket slung over his arm. Clara stood near the street light at the same soft poise, same effortless grace. When she saw him, her whole face lit up. "You showed up," she said warmly. "You waited 4 hours," he responded. "I told you I would." They walked to a small cafe copyright around the corner. The wind was gentler now, and Clara walked slightly closer to him than necessary, as if the cold was just an excuse to be near. Inside the cafe copyright, soft music played, and warm light filled the room. They sat across from each other with steaming cups of coffee between them. For a moment, neither spoke. Then Clara asked, "On a broken bar, may I ask something personal?" He nodded cautiously. "Sure." "You said life has been rough lately." "What did you mean?" Ethan stared at the dark surface of his coffee. He didn't want pity, didn't want to dump his problems on her, but Clara's gaze was genuine and no judgment, no agenda. So he told her about losing his father last year, about the financial strain that followed, the part-time job that barely covered rent, the dreams he couldn't afford anymore, studying engineering, building something meaningful, making his father proud. Clara listened, not politely, but intently, her expression shifting from sympathy to quiet admiration. "You've been carrying all that alone?" she whispered. Ethan shrugged. "Everyone's carrying something." She shook her head, emotion in her voice. "Most people wouldn't survive what you've survived." Ethan looked at her, surprised. "What about you? You seem in a broken bar, lost last night." Clara inhaled deeply. "I was." He waited. She hesitated, then said, "I run a company." Ethan blinked. "A company?" She nodded slowly. "Yes, a large one, and yesterday I a broken bar. Everything that could go wrong, went wrong. People expected me to be strong, to have answers, to lead, but I felt a broken bar alone." Ethan softened. "So you went for a walk?" She smiled sadly. "More like I tried to escape the world for a moment. I wasn't thinking clearly. I dressed lightly, and the cold hit harder than I expected." He nodded slowly. "Even leaders need to breathe." Her eyes widened slightly, touched by his understanding. They talked for nearly 2 hours about life, pressure, loneliness, hopes, regrets. Ethan found himself laughing, something he hadn't done in weeks. Clara laughed to a real laughter, the kind she probably didn't show in meeting rooms or polished offices. When they finally stepped outside, the night air was crisp. "Ethan," she said softly, standing in front of him, "you helped me when no one else would." "You don't owe me anything," he replied. "That's the thing," she whispered. "I don't feel like I owe you. I feel like a broken bar. I want to do something for you." He blinked. "What do you mean?" She gave him a gentle, secretive smile. "You'll see." And before he could ask, she stepped closer and pressed a soft kiss to his cheek. A warm spark spread through him. "Good night, Ethan," she whispered. Then she walked away into the night, leaving him frozen, not from the cold, but from the overwhelming question filling his chest. What exactly was a CEO planning to do for someone like him, and why did the thought make his heart race? After the meeting, she invited him to her private office suite, a place most employees never even saw. She returned his jacket, freshly cleaned and folded. "My name is Zara Hale," she said, "and last night a broken bar. I wasn't just cold. I had just walked away from a deal worth hundreds of millions. My entire board doubted me. I felt like a failure, but your kindness grounded me. You reminded me that goodness still exists." Ryan listened quietly, unsure what to say. Then she placed a folder in front of him. "I want to offer you a full-time creative lead position, triple your salary, better workspace, a chance to grow." Ryan's eyes widened. "Why?" he whispered. Zara smiled, a real, warm smile, nothing like the cold CEO mask she wore outside. "Because people like you deserve doors to open, because talent is wasted when no one sees it, and because you gave me your jacket without expecting anything in return." Ryan felt his chest tighten. His whole life, he had always believed kindness didn't matter in the real world, but here he was proven wrong in the best way possible. Zara stood, extending her hand. "Let's build something great together." He shook her hand, a smile spreading across his face. One cold night, a broken bar, one simple act of kindness, a broken bar, and his entire destiny had changed.